DC has been publishing an epic series called Night Terrors, and you gotta check it out, so let's talk about it. What's up, my comic comrades? DC's Night Terrors event has been ongoing since July, and we've been getting a butt ton of spin-off books along with the main Night Terrors title. But for today, we're gonna give you a rundown of the full 4-issue Night Terrors series. And let me tell you guys, it has been great thus far. The series focuses on Deadman, Batman, and the JSA Sandman, as well as a new villain named Insomnia, which is a pretty great name. Anyway, off we go. DC launched the event with a one-shot titled Night Terrors First Blood, but issue 1 of the Night Terrors main title brings us up to speed nicely. The issue starts off with an introduction by Deadman, aka former circus performer Boston Brand. We see that his ghost self is in an old circus. He's basically giving us a rundown of his origin and the day of his death, when he was shot towards the end of his trapeze act. He says, "But hey, nothing to get sad about, right? I now have the greatest role ever. I get to be a superhero. And what's the worst thing that could happen to someone who's already dead?" He then tells us, "You know, after I died, the circus continued. They took my body off the dirt and rolled out the clown show, because you know, as they say, the show must go on." As the comic brings us to present, where we see the villain Insomnia holding Batman by the throat. Insomnia says, "Look at you taking over Batman's body, so cute. So what's it going to be, Deadman? You join me and I give you whatever you dream of?" What Insomnia is referencing here is events from the one-shot First Blood, where Deadman basically possesses Batman to warn Superman and Wonder Woman that Insomnia is invading the world with nightmares, so he uses Batman's body to fight Insomnia. And this issue is picking up where First Blood left off. Anyway, Insomnia says to Deadman, "So what's it going to be, Deadman? You join me and I give you whatever you dream of?" Deadman replies, "I thought you were a ghost like me, but you're not. I sense you haunting Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman because you invaded their dreams." Insomnia replies, "You got me figured out. John D was so afraid of the Nightmare Stone that he hid it. But did he hide it in the waking world or with the nightmares of one of this world's so-called heroes?" Deadman then escapes his grasp, asking, "If you're from dreams, how are you here now? What are you?" Insomnia replies to him, "Oh, can't you tell? I'm the god of nightmares. I could bring not only my worst fears into reality, but also yours. Don't worry, it'll be good fun. The doctors of Arkham mean you well. They only wish to help us, so I will help them help me." As he sends the nightmares he's manifested into the real world after the Deadman possessed Batman. Deadman then looks back at a cell door, saying it has the same haunted feeling I felt at the Hall of Justice. I have to investigate after I take down Insomnia. And I know just how, as he possesses Insomnia. Once inside his body, he's able to read his mind, saying, "The Nightmare Stone, created long ago by a sacrifice, a tormented hero, and a long-lost case," referring to the JSA hero Sandman. He goes on to say Dr. Destiny used to possess the Dreamstone. John D stole it and manipulated it into something broken and twisted. But he feared the Nightmare Stone and hid it. You've been searching nightmares for any clues as to where it was, and you started here at Arkham Tower. Deadman continues to go deeper in Insomnia's mind, saying, "This is it now. This is the past, a memory at the forefront of your mind. The Lazarus Rain? Lazarus Island erupted and the rain was cursed with magic. It changed people, including you. Your powers didn't come from nightmares, they came from this. It gave you the ability to spy on people's minds as they slept. First it was just other inmates at Arkham like Dr. Destiny, then you started to spy on the heroes. But your dreams, they are monsters. Why?" But Insomnia is able to force Deadman out before he could find out why Insomnia's dreams are monsters. Deadman then possesses Batman again and gets the F out of Dodge, literally jumping out of Arkham Tower, getting away from Insomnia and his nightmares while saying, "Just like old times, say whatever you want about Batman, but the dude works out. This is easily the most fit person I've ever possessed. I've never really noticed because he hates it whenever I take his body for a ride. Batman is going to be super pissed, and it's wrong to steal his body, but I can't just leave him behind. One of Insomnia's creatures could kill him. This is for the best." But can we also just comment on how Deadman said that Batman is the most physically fit person he's ever possessed? This dude has possessed countless characters in the DC universe, including Superman, and he's still saying that Batman is the most physically fit. That's what's up. Anyway, Deadman gets the Batmobile and drives himself to a graveyard, and while he's there, he says to himself, nearly the whole world was knocked out by Insomnia's nightmare wave. And that was a problem, a big problem, a ticking clock of problems. But thankfully, there was a few heroes awake, as we see Red Tornado and Zatanna trying to stop Insomnia in their own ways. And I had mine. I needed to take this fight to my home turf, as he arrives at a cemetery using a sample of Lazarus Rain Batman kept to resurrect Wesley Dodds, aka Sandman. He says this feels a bit morbid, but I need help and answers, as a zombie Sandman makes his way out of the crypt. Deadman says the world is in danger. A lunatic has trapped the world inside their nightmares, as he searches for something called the Nightmare Stone. It's up to the two of us to find out the truth and stop him. Sorry, sir. Big fan, sir. I promise you, once we solve this case, and Sandman tells him while he grabs his fedora, gas gun, and gas mask from Deadman, say no more. I always loved a good mystery, which brings us to issue dos. Issue 2 opens up with another funny intro from Deadman, which I'm sure will all connect by the end of the story. But anyway, after this, we are brought brought back to Sandman, who is standing before Batman, who is currently possessed by Deadman, saying, "You're not really Batman, are you? You're some kind of ghost." Deadman replies, "You've met Batman? How?" Sandman says, "You're a ghost possessing the body of a man who dresses like a bat to fight crime. And I'm a resurrected hero from lifetimes ago who had prophetic dreams about crimes to come, and the idea of time travel and multiverses is the thing you question? Why don't we get to why you resurrected me? You mentioned someone called Insomnia." Batman says, "Yeah, he's a real freak show, moves within people's nightmares, controls reality, makes the nightmares real, and really hates costume heroes. And it's after something called the Nightmare Stone. I saw glimpses of his mind, I saw you. Any idea why?" Sandman says, "I remember the Nightmare Stone. It was a bad case, one that haunted me. There was a cult. They claimed to worship some god of nightmares. At first, this was one like all cults, really about sex and money, but then it took a nasty turn into the horrific. As we learn, the cult was made up of rich people making human sacrifices to get the power of the Nightmare Stone. But the single sacrifice wasn't enough to make the Nightmare Stone real, and it disappeared. After that, Sandman didn't know where it went, and it was an open case ever since, which haunted him." Sandman then tells Deadman, "In my time with the Justice Society, I saw many things, but there was something about that case. Dr. Fate once told me that an item that bridged dream and the waking world was dangerous, and should never fall in the wrong hands." Deadman says, "Thank you. I should put you back before you start having a craving for brains. I'm sorry to have disturbed your rest." But Sandman says, "Did you hear me? That case haunted me. I feel a certain responsibility to finish it. Wherever you go, I follow." And with that, Deadman, who's still possessing Batman, has a new zombie partner. We then see Insomnia invading the son of the cult leader Sandman busted all those years ago, trying to see if he knows where the Nightmare Stone is. But the son has no idea, so all Freddy Krueger style, Insomniac kills him in his dream by shoving a money bag in his mouth, causing him to explode from the inside out, which also kills him in the real world, because if you die in your dream, you die in the real world, again, all Freddy Krueger style. After this, we see Deadman and Sandman make their way to Terrific Tech, where they meet with Red Tornado. Red Tornado tells them nearly every single person in the world fell asleep at the same time. Can you grasp how big of a disaster this is? It's only been a few hours, but the whole world has been thrown into chaos. Thankfully, robots don't really need sleep. As we see, the Metal Men are also helping. Deadman replies, "I was so caught up with stopping Insomnia, I didn't stop to see how it was impacting the rest of the world. Once we wake everyone up, we can get things back to normal." They then look at the readings at Terrific Tech, saying, "This is worse than we thought," with Red Tornado saying, "These readings show that everyone's minds are sinking deeper and deeper into comas. The longer the world spends in this nightmare, the less connection they have to their bodies. Eventually, there won't be anyone to wake up." Right after this, we learn that Deadman is now linked to Insomnia after he possessed him in the very first issue, with Deadman screaming out in pain, saying, "I could see his nightmares," as we get a flashback of Insomnia at Arkham Tower trying to be rehabilitated. But he's triggered when he sees the Justice League on the news returning from the dead after the Dark Crisis event. He freaks out, saying, "Why do they get to come back from the dead and not us? What makes them so special? I will not rest until the whole world sees the Justice League for what they are," giving us more insight into Insomnia's backstory. For some reason, he really hates the Justice League, but don't worry, it's actually revealed in full in issue 4. Anyway, the issue ends with Insomnia's sleepless nights tracking down Deadman, Sandman, and Red Tornado at Terrific Tech, with the Knights killing Red Tornado, holding his head up with one of the nightmares using Red Tornado's head as a puppet, saying, "You should have stayed at Arkham Tower. It's way past your bedtime." This leads us to issue 3, and we're going to be going through things a little quicker. At the beginning of the issue, we see Deadman and Sandman trying to fight off Insomnia's sleepless nights. Deadman says, "We need to go," but Sandman says, "We can't just leave them," with Deadman saying, "Look, they're not interested in Mr. Terrific. He's in some kind of stasis or sleep," continuing to say Insomnia must have instructed them only to hunt people who are awake. But at this point, Damian Wayne shows up saying, "Get away from my father," and starts lashing and hacking all of the sleepless nights, eventually retreating with Deadman and Sandman getting away in the Batplane. Once in the Batplane, Deadman says, "Thanks, kid. Your father must be proud of you." But Damian replies by putting a sword to his neck, saying, "Do not literally put words in my father's mouth, demon." Deadman replies, "Who are you calling a demon?" Damian tells him, "My father and I have been possessed enough times. Get out of his body, now." Deadman does, with Damian saying, "Boston? I should have known." Deadman in shock says, "You could see me?" Damian replies, "I have way too much experience with death." Sandman asks, "How are you awake, young man?" as not many people were able to survive Insomnia's nightmare wave. Damian tells him, "I had a nightmare. Insomnia was in my dreams. He wanted me to forget, so I trained my mind to control my dreams. But also the art of staying awake. I've utilized every single meditation technique I've ever learned. The whole world has only been asleep for a few hours, but for me, it feels like I've been awake for weeks. I could feel the nightmares pulling at me." So essentially, Damian is so well trained and badass, he's able to keep himself awake, even with Insomnia's powers pulling at him. Deadman says, "We need to know more of what Insomnia knows, if we're going to find the Nightmare Stone before he does." Sandman says, "The last time you connected to his mind, it led the sleepless nights directly to us." But Deadman's like, "They're already on our trail. What's a little peek going to hurt?" As he goes in his mind once again, seeing the heroes he's going after, and getting another flashback from Insomnia's past, as we see him in a survivors meeting, where one of the guys says, "Hopefully one day you will forgive the Justice League." But this causes Insomnia, who doesn't have powers at this time, to freak out, saying saying, "Forgive them? You will see," as he breaks a coffee pot over the dude's head and then uses a piece of the glass to kill the guy, saying, "All I want is for everyone to have their eyes open to the truth. I guess I need to lead by example. I will never sleep again, not until the Justice League pay," as we see him use a piece of glass to cut off his eyelids. Back in the Wake world, Sandman says, "Hope that was worth it." Deadman replies, "I think it was." And Insomnia is growing frustrated. He can't find the Nightmare Stone, but John D told him it wasn't here either. He hid it away from the land of the living. Damian then says it must be someplace in between waking and dreaming. Sandman says if that's the case, I might be of some help. Before I put on the gas mask, I wished to be a writer. I had a responsibility to take over my family's empire, so I became a chemist instead. It's how I developed my special sleep gas. Over the years, I experimented with different formulas and concoctions. Some that could put people in comas, others that can manipulate dreams and nightmares. Now this formula will put you in a state of not quite awake and not quite dreaming. As we see, Sandman concocted this formula in Wayne Lab somewhere, with him using it on Deadman and Damian. As they enter, Deadman says it's called the Hollow, where you're not sleeping but not quite awake. And ultimately they find the Nightmare Stone. It's in Deadman's body, as it was laying the night he got shot and died during his trapeze act. Deadman says, "My old body possesses the Nightmare Stone. It takes sacrifice," as he kills his own self that night he got shot, bursting into his chest, pulling out the Nightmare Stone, coming back to the Wake world, now possessing the Nightmare Stone. He then tells Sandman, "We have the Nightmare Stone. We could use it to stop Insomnia, and then my dreams will come true." This leads us to the fourth and final issue of the series. Essentially, with the Nightmare Stone in hand, Deadman, Damian, and Sandman go to Arkham Tower, which is being run over with nightmares. The short of it is, they make their way to Christopher Lucas's cell block, aka Insomnia, where his body lays asleep, because the version we've been seeing of him is just his nightmare self. Anyway, as they're standing over his body, Deadman says, "Christopher Lucas. He was a killer who refused to sleep, so the press called him Insomnia. He was locked up in Arkham after he said that he saw something in his dreams that drove him mad. The doctors here forced him to stay asleep, as we see him strapped to a bed with a straitjacket. But Deadman then comes out of Batman's body holding the Nightmare Stone, going into Insomnia's body with the Nightmare Stone, saying, 'The stone will free your mind from the Lazarus curse. What you try to hide, I can see.' And this is where we get Insomnia's origin. We see that originally, before he turned into a serial killer and supervillain, he was just a normal dude with 3 kids and a wife. He was a massive fan of the Justice League. When he comes home one day, he says some kind of disaster. The Justice League is fighting a monster down the street. They said we need to evacuate, but I know the League will save the day." And just as he finishes his sentence, his apartment building is destroyed because of the battle the Justice League is having with a monster. Insomnia, or Christopher, looks at his family in the wreckage, but when he finds them, they're all dead, as he screams, "Help, Justice League, help. Where are you? Please come here. Help us. Please," while he cries over the bodies of his family, telling us the reason why he hates the Justice League so much, and giving us the origin of why he became a villain, which was amplified once the Lazarus Rain gave him powers. But keep in mind, Deadman is in Insomnia's mind now. Insomnia then tells Deadman, "The Justice League were too busy fighting evil Batman. They were too busy saving the world to save mine. My family was my reason for living. And then in a blink of an eye, they were gone. The so-called heroes of this world dress up in costumes in hopes of saving the day, but half the time they create the danger." Deadman says, "Killing them won't bring your family back." Insomnia looks at him with his crazy eyes, saying, "I don't want to kill them. The death of my family was my nightmare, and the Justice League made it a reality. I want to return the favor. But that isn't good enough. I just want the whole world to see them as I see them, not as heroes, but as horror." As we learn, Insomnia's plan is to bring the Justice League's nightmares to real life so the whole world could see them as he does. We then find out this was all orchestrated by Insomnia, Deadman coming here with the Nightmare Stone, saying, "I let you see the clues. I let you see my past. I wanted you to bring me that stone." Deadman says, "You can't have it. It takes sacrifice to control it." Insomnia tells him, "Did you forget the rules of this whole game? If you die in the nightmares, you die in real life too." As he slits his own throat, killing himself, making him a sacrifice so that he could control the Nightmare Stone. It works, and he now controls the Nightmare Stone, bringing all the nightmares of the Justice League to real life. Dreams are now real, wreaking havoc on Earth, as the book ends with us seeing the nightmare versions of the DC Trinity. This series is freaking fantastic, as Josh Williamson is just killing it. I'm really digging everything they've done with it, as it has an awesome horror mystery vibe. The obvious Freddy Krueger inspiration is such a dope concept, and I can't wait to see how it all wraps up in the Night's End one-shot. But what do you guys think? Are you digging it? Let us know down in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.